Go.
Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Nupur Mangekar, founder and head physio at Rebounds Physiotherapy Clinic. So we are going to discuss something really interesting today. So I have been getting a lot of questions like during the pandemic, how we have to go ahead with the rehab. But rehabilitation is a very vast topic. So I thought maybe we can just cut them short in different specialities. So today we are going to specifically discuss about neuro rehabilitation, and to discuss that with us, we have a very own Dr. Asmita Sangave, who's a very specialized neurotherapist. Many of my patients must be knowing her already because she has been handling a lot of my neuro rehab cases in our clinic. So, thanks Asmita for joining us today. And a little bit behind Asmita, I'll like to introduce you all what she is exactly. So, Dr. Asmita Sangave started her career with Parkinson's Disease and Medical Disorder Society in the year 2015 and has been actively contributing to the organization's growth by rendering services in the form of consultation and visits. She has been instrumental in planning and the execution of the Kaprada project, which was a massive undertaking by Neurology Foundation in the state of Gujarat in the year 2016. She is well known for her expertise in the treatment of neurological disorders and maintains a keen interest in rehabilitation involved in the same. So, Dr. Asmita earned her master's degree in neurophysiotherapy from MGH Institute of Health Professions, Boston, United States of America, in the year 2014, and her bachelor's from KJ Somaya College of Physiotherapy, Mumbai. So, thank you, Asmita. And we would like to begin with what is exactly neuro rehab, because a lot of people feel
Sure.
that, okay, physiotherapy is just involving maybe some back pain, neck pain, or ortho related conditions. But neuro rehab is also one of a big aspect of physiotherapy. So, can we enlighten us with that, please?
Sure. First of all, thank you, Nupur, for such a warm introduction, and thank you for having me on board with this. It's really nice for you to arrange these webinars because it's very important for all our patients to understand the importance of exercises and rehabilitation in difficult situations like COVID-19. And hello, everyone. I hope everyone is doing good. Everyone is safe in their own houses. Please be home, be safe. Okay, so Nupur, I think we'll start sharing the screen first. Initially, I
Yes.
thought of doing a live session, just an interactive session, but we got a lot of questions, and that's why we thought of making a PPT kind of form based on these questions. It's going to be very basic. So I'm just going to start sharing the screen. Okay, can we see the screen?
Yes. Yes, I can see your screen.
Okay, so let's just dive into the topic. Okay. So as you asked, what is neurorehabilitation? And as you correctly mentioned that neuro patients are the ones who require a lot of rehabilitation because it's a continuous process for them. We cannot stop. We have to keep, exercising so that we remain in that optimum health position. So let's just see what rehabilitation means basically. So rehabilitation is something which will improve your functional activity. It will reduce your disability, it will reduce your symptoms and improves the patient's quality of life overall. So what is neurological rehabilitation now? So neurological rehabilitation is designed to help treat patients with nervous system or neurological disorders. So to sum it up, basically when you say neuro rehab, what do you achieve? You achieve the status of the patient which was before the disorder. So we are trying to regain the former abilities here. So we are going to get the patient back on track. So even if the full recovery is not possible, we try to achieve the optimum physical health. And along with physical health, we are also trying to concentrate on the mental, social, and vocational capacity also. So overall, when you consider that we are, giving neuro rehab to a patient, at the end of the rehab process, we are trying to make this patient independent as much as possible in all the activities of life. So that is what
Mhm.
neuro rehabilitation means. So it takes a team. It's not only one health professional or one person who can achieve this. So these are different
Absolutely.
components of neuro rehabilitation. We have a multidisciplinary approach here. from neurologists to neurosurgeons to physiotherapists, occupational therapists, psychologists, and so on. The list is long. We all can see what all aspects are there in your rehabilitation. Some patients might require a speech therapist and a psychologist. Some might require an orthosis, prosthesis. It all depends from case to case. But only when this integrated approach is taken, when this all these sectors of rehabilitation come together, a patient can achieve his goal. I'm sure, Nupur, because you were working in a hospital scenario, you can put some light on this maybe, that even in your hospital, when a patient is admitted into acute care, so all these therapists come together, plan, they meet once a week, and we kind of plan a patient therapy program, right?
Yeah, I think in the initial phase also, I feel that, when you have just like for a case of stroke or something like that, we need a whole rehab team. Including that, you need a neurosurgeon. You need a big team of rehab specialists. You need speech language therapists.
Correct.
There are so many new aspects that have come into picture, and thanks to the new recent developments, there are so many things that goes behind a rehab of one single patient. So I feel the multidisciplinary approach is something that we need in right now
Right.
scenario.
You go now.
Absolutely, you're correct.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So basically in India, we need to focus more on this, because still now patients are really not aware that we have to take help of the speech therapist for your speech problems. You have to take help of your occupational therapist for your occupational needs, and so on. So it's very important to
And even
understand.
a small thing like a diet chart will affect the
Yes.
patient. Like a dietitian is also needed during that aspect. Like when you're like recuperating, your diet plays a very important role. I think you will agree with me on that.
Yes, definitely. Specifically, for example, patients with Parkinson's, they have so many issues with constipation and all that. A dietitian is required to give a personalized diet program. Patients with stroke, they need to have a low salt, low cholesterol diet. Again, the nutritions come into the picture. So definitely all these aspects have to work together.
Absolutely. Good point.
So as someone asked that what conditions are actually benefiting from this neurological rehab. So
actually, that is what I want to get, Asmita, that people are so confused right now. They are like, oh, okay, isn't a physiotherapist looking after only like maybe some injury or something like that? But it's like very, I think right now we need to differentiate. Oh, there is something as specialized as neuro rehabilitation, and we have therapists who are working so hard on that particular field. So I think you can enlighten us with what all the conditions come under that.
Everyone should understand this, I think, somewhere, that as we have specialists in our doctors, there is an orthopedic surgeon, a neurosurgeon. For any orthopedic condition, we always go to an orthopedic surgeon. For any neurological condition, we go to a neurologist or a neurosurgeon. There is definitely specialities in physical therapy also. So when I talk about neuro rehab specifically, these include the disorders which are related to the neurological system. So it can be injuries, it can be infections, it can be degenerative disease, any vascular defects, tumors, structural defects, circulatory system that is affecting the nervous system. Now, there are many disorders I have already mentioned in this slide, but let me focus on some issues that we usually see as a neurotherapist, mainly stroke, Parkinson's disease, traumatic brain injuries, multiple sclerosis, Alzheimer's disease, cerebral palsy. These are the major diseases that we see for neuro rehab. But besides these, as I said, all the other diseases like encephalitis, meningitis, even these are, which are infection brain diseases, do require neuro rehab. So to sum it up, any disease or any disorder which will involve the neurological system, the nervous system, will have to go through a neuro rehab.
All right.
Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. I think that would be a good point. Like people will understand, like, okay, these are the conditions that are handled generally by a neurotherapist.
Right. Okay. So let's talk about what is the purpose of physical therapy. So, when a person comes to a physical therapist, our aim is to achieve their goals. So when a client comes to me, the first thing I do is consult. My first session is always a consultation session where I assess the patient, where I assess the patient's environment, I assess the patient's socioeconomic status, and everything which is related to the rehab. So on this basis, we try and set up few goals in a very smart way. So for example, if I say one of my clients wants to achieve one goal, which is of walking. So I said, Mr. ABC is going to be able to walk 10 meters of distance in 5 weeks. It's a very objective goal here. I want to achieve walking, but the distance is 10 meters and the time duration is 5 weeks. So this is one of my goals. This is just a vague example here. And when I achieve this setting of goals, when I get that, okay, these are the goals that I want to achieve, then I start preparing the therapy sessions along these goals. So for example, for walking, we require a good postural control, we require good balancing, we require good functional status of the patient, we require good strengthening of the muscles. So now we break these components into these different components and try to achieve these single components. So physical therapy, when a patient comes to your session, we try to achieve the strength of your muscle, the mobility, the impaired limbs functions. Many patients want to go back to the recreational activities. We try to achieve that. It's very important that we tell the patient what he or she can do rather than telling them what he and she cannot do. If something they cannot do, our job is to modify it, either the activity or their positioning or the way they are doing, so that they achieve it. So
I think that is the main job of physical therapist. We do not eliminate something. We will try to modify it for you so that you can do it in a better way. That's what I think physical therapy does.
Because that's what we are trained for, right? We will modify each and every activity or exercise for you. If it's very easy for you, we'll try and make it a little difficult so that you get that optimum level of strength. And if it's very difficult for you, we will try and make it easy for you. So that's what physical therapy is all about. You will promote independence to all these activities as much as possible. We don't want the patient to be dependent. Then it can be also with an assistive device. That's okay. If the patient needs an orthosis or a mobility aid like a stick or a walker, initially we will use that so that the patient is independent in his own way. And then following, we can wean it off if necessary, or how it goes. It depends from patient to patient. Okay. So I think, we have covered pretty much what physical therapy is and what a patient should understand from these treatments. So I always tell my patients, when you're setting goals, when you're coming to physical therapy to us, what do you want to achieve? You always think about your life and tell me that, if this one activity, if I could do this one activity, my life would be better. Maybe it's walking or standing, going to the bathroom, anything. It can be anything.
Because so many people who just want to do that one activity. Some of them are hell-bent. I want to do gardening because that's what I love. I think that we have to change our treatment protocol, making sure that we incorporate some moments that we use in gardening to train them. I think you would do the same thing.
So as a physical therapist, just pick up these activities what they are telling you to, because finally we have to adhere to their goals and try and work around their goals and try to achieve them as soon as possible.
Absolutely. And I think next question that I was going to ask you, and a lot of because of the lockdown, so how is it exactly going to affect the have some effects on neuro rehab? Because a lot of patients are not able to come in for the session, and you are also not able to go out for the home treatment. So can you tell us something about that?
Yeah, that's a very good question actually, because it's been very difficult times for all our patients, because as I earlier mentioned, neurological patients have to keep going. They have to keep exercising, otherwise they might deteriorate, right? So in this difficult situation, it has rapidly and abruptly stressed the entire health system in all the countries. Patients are not able to come to the rehab centers, therapists are not able to go to the patients. Besides this, that even caregivers, it's taking a toll on their health also, because they are working from home, they're doing all the household chores because there are no house help available now these days, and plus taking care of their patients is becoming very difficult for them too. So it is very important to understand the importance of planning the exercise here, to plan how do we go about the rehab in this difficult situation. So technology comes to help, right? So technology is boon to us, and tele-rehab is something that I have been using personally, and I'm sure even you are using it. We have discussed about this. tele-rehab helps me to supervise my patients while they're exercising, and it is really a boon. And the second thing that we can do is a planned home exercise program. So we'll talk about both of these topics in a little detail in the next slide.
Mhm.
So, what is tele-rehab? I think almost everyone knows now, but tele-rehab is basically using this technology to prepare a therapy program, which is an alternative method to deliver your sessions in a very convenient manner. Like it's convenient to you, it is as well as convenient to your patient because you're in your own convenience, in your own houses. There is no barrier of time, cost, distance, anything. So we use video conferencing with my patients. So basically, there are three types of tele-rehab. One is image-based, sensor-based, and virtual technologies. Now, when I say image-based is your video conferencing. We are also using tele-rehab right now to
Yeah.
convey our messages. There are so many apps available like Zoom, WhatsApp video calling, Hangout. You just name it, and there are so many. Use these technologies. Everyone has a phone these days. Everyone has some kind of technology available. Even if video conferencing is not available, we should at least try and convey it on the phone with patients with who come from a very poor economic status. But I would prefer video conferencing because I need to supervise my patients, especially in neurological conditions. As we all know that correct form of exercise is very important. More than quantity, the quality is important. So that's why video conferencing is more preferable. And
Yep.
the second type is sensor based. Like we have blood pressure monitors, we have oxygen saturation level monitors, we have glucose monitors, which gives you the exact vitals of the patient. We know the health status of the patient, and hence following we can try and plan. If we know that the blood pressure of the patient is high, I know what should we do and what should we not. That's why these sensor therapy based are also important. And
Mhm.
lastly, my favorite is virtual rehabilitation. So when I was in US, I did a small directed research topic on virtual reality, and it really works wonders because many patients, especially in India here, what happens is they are bored of this typical traditional exercises. So we have to keep changing. We have to make them fun. We have to make it motivational, especially in kids. It has to be somewhere motivational to them. So this virtual reality increases their motivational interest and it keeps them going. There are so many games. One of my patients loves to play tennis, and now he can't go and play tennis, and he has the Wii game system in his house. So we have set it up in his house, and he plays tennis every single day. It helps them. One of the disadvantages with virtual reality is not everyone can access to it. And
Mhm.
I think as a country, we are still working on it. And I hope one day we will achieve that also, where it is easily available in all households. But for now, at least wherever it is available, whoever can afford it, it's a very good thing because there are so many activities that we can do on it, whether they are balance exercises or, as I said, these games, cricket, tennis, whatever you want to play, you can.
Coordination game, because that will actually improve your coordination,
Correct.
hand-eye movement. I think that
Correct.
will be very good with virtual reality. I think that's
Correct.
the next step in our rehab protocols.
Right, right. And yes, I definitely do want to incorporate it a little more and see how it helps, and maybe do a little more research about it if we can, and try and achieve those goals. So yeah, so tele-rehab is something that we should definitely use. There are many apps actually on Play Store and App Store for tele-rehab where you can add your patient. You can be a host like what we are doing right now, and then there will be an exercise program which you can make and feed it in the app, and the patient can access it, and whenever he does the home exercise program he has to put the tab in it, and this way we can keep in check. So technology has definitely helped us to you know cope with this situation right
Okay, perfect.
now. Okay.
Now, can we go ahead with some, yeah, advantages and how it can help our patients right now?
See, basically, as we've already discussed, it eliminates all the barriers of distance, cost, your geographical locations. Nothing matters for tele-rehab. Secondly, in a normal scenario, in a traditional scenario for a neuro rehab, I would call my patient twice or thrice a week. But with tele-rehab, we can do it every day. The frequency of the sessions can be increased. because it's so convenient for the patient as well as the therapist. We can fix appointments every day. So definitely the frequency will increase. Then we can do a group session with all our patients if they are willing, of course, with their consent, to gamify the entire situation here. Try to increase their training motivation by getting together. uh, we'll get all of them together in a video conferencing call and try to include some dance therapy activities or some kind of exercise sessions which keeps their competitive spirit high, and also the exercises. So that can also be done in tele rehab. uh, and as we discussed, home environment is the most peaceful and calm environment everyone has. So the patient can do it from their own houses, so which is a beneficial thing. And also because they can do from their home houses, it's a long term thing. If a patient comes to me, he might come for like a month or 2 or 3 or maybe a year, but then he or she will think of deteriorating the therapy sessions for whatever reasons, social, economical. But if it's a tele rehab session, he or she will definitely try to keep it going because they don't have to move out of their houses for that. So these are some advantages I think that can be there for tele rehab. But saying this, I would also like to mention one thing: it does not definitely cover up for your traditional rehab. Traditional rehab is something completely different because that time we are there to facilitate the patients, and that has to be the key important rehab. This is just something in addition to that, or in times like this where we are not.
Exactly, because I feel exactly. Even I feel that because the traditional rehab, whatever we are doing in the cleaning or whatever the therapist goes and does, is something very different. So I think in this situation, this is something we can offer, if not in person. So this can be like a facilitatory method right now in this condition. I think that is what Dr. Asmita is trying to put forth, and
Yes.
I would like to put forth as well.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so let's go on to home exercise program. Traditionally also, when patients come to me for rehab, I always give them a home exercise program because I always feel that whatever we achieve in our therapy session has to be retained, and that is only by your home exercise program. So when you give a layout of exercises to these patients which they can do at their home individually or with the help of a caregiver, it helps to retain whatever we have achieved in our initial therapy session. So that's the most important thing for home exercise program. And it also involves the parent or caregiver along with the therapist. So the interaction between the caregivers and the therapist will help us as health professionals to learn from each other, so that we understand each other's perspectives and improve therapy sessions for these patients. So it is tailor made for every
I
patient.
think the main
Yeah, you were saying something?
yeah, because I wanted to put forth that neuro rehab is something it's very you have to keep on continuing it
Ongoing.
even after a point, because sometimes you feel okay, it's I'm getting improvement now, I should stop it. It's not like that. So I think home exercise program is very important compared to whatever you're doing in the clinic or in the hospital or
Right.
whatever therapist is doing with you. So home exercise program is very important for all neuro rehab cases as well, right, Asmita?
I second that. Definitely, yes. Because as I said, it does retain what we are doing and definitely keeps the patient going. So it is very important.
Exactly.
So I think someone asked that what are the do's and don'ts that we need to do? This COVID-19 situation is taking a toll on our health. We are so confused what to do, what not to do. First thing, just be relaxed. Stress is something that you should keep away. Keep yourself hydrated. Do some aerobic training. Aerobic training can be in the form of just plain normal walking. Go down in your society compound or maybe in the house. If you have stairs in and around the house, just go up and down stairs with support, of course, and it depends from patient to patient. If the patient is not very mobile to walk or to do the staircase training, the patient can just do sit to stand several times, try to take small steps like side walking with help, wall support, side walking, all these kind of activities which will help in aerobic training. Like one of my clients, he loves cycling. He loves cycling. So every day 15 minutes to 20 minutes he cycles in the society compound. So try and find out your ways. A therapist will help you to design these exercises which are suitable for your environment in this situation, so that we keep going. Frequent breaks is very important because energy conservation is a big thing in neurological rehab. Because I always say that you have to conserve energy. Sorry, you were saying something?
Yeah, because I was having this issue, like some of the patients have mobility issues. I think it's better they have someone with them, right, Asmita? Would you concur on that? That if they have some, maybe their caretaker or their relative around them, would you say that rather
Yes.
than doing independently, if someone is around them?
Yeah, that's one of the points that I've mentioned here, that you have to ensure that someone is always supervising you during your exercise session or your walks. And if there is no one available, at least be in a safe environment, like walk around the wall or walk with an assisted aid or something like that. But assistance is necessary because you don't know, you don't want to take that risk here. You don't want to complicate the situation. That's why supervision is very important. And as I said, I was saying about energy conservation is
Yes.
that you have to conserve your energy, take frequent breaks, don't overdo any things. Involve yourself in hobbies to keep yourself motivated, do all kind of art therapies, creative things. Don't overexert yourself. Do all your exercises in pain-free range. Do not allow any discomfort to come into place. Don't experience any discomfort. And if anything is there, always tell your physical therapist. Always follow the routine that your physical therapist is given. And if any issue with any exercise, the physical therapist will modify it for you. So always keep them in the loop, so they will help you to improve your exercise session accordingly. And as we were discussing about food habits, it's very important to keep your food habits in check, because everyone is cooking, everyone is having fun. So we are eating a lot with no activities. Uh, that's that's there. But also for neurological conditions, as we already discussed, nutrition is a key point. So we have to keep in check our nutrition and follow it. Do you have anything to say, Nupur, on
Absolutely.
this?
Yeah, good touching on that. Yeah, absolutely. Because whatever you have told is very good. Like this is what we are telling all our patients. Like not just neuro, we are telling all the patients.
Yes.
Like okay, go ahead, do it, but don't be overzealous or don't be told, because the patients nowadays are that lacking that. When they were coming to the clinic, they had okay, I have to go to the clinic, I have to do it. But now they're home for such a long time. They're feeling a little bit like low on motivation. They're feeling like, oh, you're not coming home and getting it done with me, or maybe when I'm not able to come to the clinic, so I'm getting bored. I think it's like a, what do you say, I have to make sure their enthusiasm level is in check, like they
Yes.
have to do it. Otherwise, if after a while they come to me and they're like, oh, but I didn't do anything during that time, then
Right.
it will become okay, whatever we had achieved, it has all come down. So I think even the motivation
Aspect.
plays a very big role. I think you can also now that how we can you know uh, differentiate like some exercises, because some patients feel that okay, only when the therapist is with me I'm going to do it, which is
Right.
not the case. They're supposed to do it even when we are not around. So
And that is
will
why,
you tell us something about that, how to maintain the
yeah, and that is why I think
like some patients
you're
like in neuro also very tiring.
right. And that is why I think that our hobbies come into picture. Like one of my patients loves swimming. I tell him, just go for swimming. It's a good exercise for you. Do it. If you can't do it, why not? Of course, in a safe environment. So you have to try and achieve these exercises in the form of their hobbies. So this is where your history part is very important. That's where your history taking is so important, where you understand the person as a whole and not only the condition. We don't want to understand only the stroke in him. We also want to understand what kind of person he is, what he likes and what he doesn't like. So if a person likes dance, we incorporate these exercises in a dance therapy so that it will automatically motivate him to do it. And we like, there are so many dance sessions that I do with my patients, where of course there are dance movement therapists who are specialists in this, and they are their job is to get dance into sessions. But we can definitely try and incorporate these kind of small motivational activities in their therapy sessions. If a patient likes to play with the ball, maybe include these kind of toys, like a child especially, where we have to try and get all kind of toys to keep them motivated and keep the sessions going on. So I would just say that try to incorporate all your hobbies and try to incorporate your interest in your exercise session so that it's fun for you. Like I personally don't like exercising, but I like dancing. So why not incorporate dancing in my exercise session so I keep going? It's that kind of.
Yeah, right. Like, you know how to improve your hand movements. Like even you would suggest, okay, now during this period, why don't you write something? Just see something,
Right.
keep on writing. That will indirectly improve your hand coordination. Your fingers exercises would be in that. I think if someone has kids around, they can play with the clay, and that is also a form of exercises. We tell them, but that will also keep them motivated. Okay, let's make something today. I think that is what Asmita is trying to put in.
Yeah, we should always try to incorporate the functional activity in your exercise program. So that's very important because finally the aim is to achieve the function. So try and incorporate these functional activities in all kind of programs. See, right now I think almost everyone needs help in their household chores. So if you are working on fine motor activities, try to do something in the kitchen. Try to peel your peas, or peel your garlic or something, or something or the other things which will help you in fine motor activities. So just keep doing functional activities right now which can help you
Absolutely.
to move forward.
Absolutely. Asmita, I would like to go ahead. There were a few questions that had come up. Like to all the viewers, we had put up a tab on Instagram and Facebook, like those questions. Oh, okay. You want to touch on mental health as well? You want
Yeah,
to go
I
ahead
think
with that,
before taking
and
those
then we can
questions,
go
let's
ahead
just
with the
talk about
questions.
this one more thing, because everyone is asking about mental health a lot. Again, a psychologist or a counselor is a better person to talk about this, but we'll talk about it in very brief. See, everyone has a habit of daily routine. Okay, so I think we should try and keep our daily routine in check here. If you are getting up at 7 o'clock in the morning in your normal days, we should now follow that same routine. Get up at 7 o'clock, have your breakfast at the same time, have all your meals at the same time, do the similar activities that you were doing then, and try to keep that routine in check. So you will never feel that that void of staying at home, or what should I do, what should I not do, I'm feeling stressed, I'm feeling depressed, etc. That will go away. As I earlier also said, that stress is something that you should keep away. So do some relaxation exercises like breathing exercises, some meditation you can do with some good music. Restrict your social media and media, because I know it's very important to understand what's going in the world, to understand where this coronavirus situation, COVID-19 situation is today. But you have to restrict yourself somewhere, because then it keeps that negative aura around you. So instead of focusing on that, you definitely check, because we need to keep in check what is happening in the world, but restrict it. So instead of focusing on what we cannot do, or instead of focusing on these negative things, focus on what you can do. Focus on some constructive activities. Keep yourself busy, whether it is creative, constructive. We have spoke about it. Do painting, art, any kind of hobbies. This is the time. Learn a new hobby. There are so many online courses that you get. You want to learn guitar, just go enroll yourself, learn. So keep doing this, play games, read books, stay connected with your family. Technology is going to help us again in that. So try and do all these things, and I'm sure that you will definitely be in a good mental health situation. So you have to stay happy and healthy for that. And I would like to just summarize that whatever happens in this world, whatever the situation is, we have to keep going. That should be our motto. And for doing that, we'll just summarize quickly what we said today in our session was: we listen to music, relaxation is the key, keep the stress away, do all kind of physical activities that we discussed, do some brain exercises, because as I have always said, that if the willpower of the patient is good, 70% of your disorder is treated. The rest 30% is your physical disability. So exercises like Sudoku, crossword, puzzles, many apps are available. Download them, play those games. Tele-rehab, use technology, connect with the family, have fun with your family. This is the time you're getting to have spend some time with your family. And also I will emphasize on this point is, you have to discuss with your therapist all the activities, because he or she will definitely tell you what works for you and what doesn't work. Just don't go blindly and do anything. Always keep your therapist in the loop, and yes, that will help you keep going. So stay safe.
Yeah. Yes, that's absolutely. Thank you so much, Asmita. So
My
before we
pleasure.
wind up, there were some couple of questions that had come
Okay.
up that we had put on Instagram. So someone had asked, so I have my father-in-law who is suffering from Parkinsonism, but due to the lockdown, he's not able to come to the clinic. So obviously the physiotherapist has given, but what do you suggest that can keep him motivated, because she is feeling that the patient is not getting motivated to do it by himself. So what are some activities that you would tell that patient to do when he's a Parkinsonism case?
First thing, definitely I need to assess this patient to see what activities this patient needs. Okay, but
Mhm.
in general, if I have to speak about Parkinson's disease, one of the major issues that they have is the rigidity, the slowness of movements that they face. So it's very important to do the exercise uh, in three aspects: when, how, and what. So in Parkinson's, it's very important to do exercises in a on period. So everyone knows what an on and off period is, right? When you take the medication of Parkinson's, after that, like for half an hour, the on period starts for at least 2 to 3 hours, but it varies from all patients. Okay, it varies for all the patients. So it's
Mhm.
best to do exercises in this on period for these patients. So that's when. What? Now, what will depend on what the condition of the patient is. And accordingly, we'll plan the exercises. And how we will tell you, we will make you understand to do what kind of exercise needs to be done. Let me do one thing. Let me just pull up a patient exercise sheet that I have, maybe to make you all I'll just explain in brief. So these are the kind of exercises that we need, because we need to train balance, we need to train strengthening, and we need to do aerobic training. So we are doing one leg standing here. We are doing our hip muscle exercises. This is a functional activity from sitting to standing. So these are the some kind of exercises that the patient should do to keep themselves checked.
Absolutely. So these
Uh,
are some of the tips that he can follow right now, I
yes.
guess.
There's one more thing I would like to share. 1 minute. Yeah. So as I said, balance, and so very simple. Take a chair, keep the chair in front of you for support. There should be a wall behind you for a safe environment. Do spot marching. Spot marching is a very good aerobic conditioning exercise, as well as good for your balancing. Do side kicks, again with a chair support. Do back kicks, do hip kicks. These are some exercises which will help in the movements in these patients. So besides that, there are few trunk exercises, like stretching your trunk in different positions. Do rotational activities. So if you can see here, the patient is going back and stretching the back completely. Side bending, so they are stretching the side, and rotational. So I'm giving a very brief example here, but we will tailor these exercises for these patients according to their needs. And for
So that's
motivational part,
amazing. Mhm.
we have already spoken about that. Try and involve them in the things that they like to do,
Hmm.
so that they do it by themselves, and we don't need to force them to do it.
All right. So the next question was, now the patients are not able to visit us in the clinic, and we are also not able to go to most of the patients. So would this lockdown, this period of not doing a proper rehab with the therapist, would have any effect on the child's progress? I'm talking about a patient who is a cerebral palsy child, and he is not able to come to the clinic, and there is a gap right now. So would it affect the child in any way?
It will definitely, because as I said, neurological conditions require continuous therapy, and but for that, uh, as we mentioned, we have tele rehab and home exercise programs, so we should definitely try to incorporate that in their lives. In general, also we usually train parents to do few home exercise programs for their kids, so parents should always continue this, whether or not coming to the rehab sessions. we will be there on video conferencing to help them and to support them, to teach them, to supervise them. How do we go about the therapy sessions? Involve child in different activities as kicking the ball or reaching out some objects, do different reach outs, give them toys to reach out, and for the balance activities and everything. And I think all we can train all this when we are doing a session, and it can still be kept in check. So doing nothing will definitely affect, but if we keep doing these things, then we might keep the health in check.
All right. So the last question is, our home is pretty small, so walking and everything is not possible. So the patient is a stroke case apparently, and so what would you advise? Because they are not able to do the gait training and whatever we used to do as home train,
Right.
like in the clinic.
No,
So what would you advise them?
that's a major issue in many of the houses in Bombay, at least, because we know how the scenario is here, and end up completely understand. So if the patient has staircase in and around the house, they can do staircase training up and down. If that's also not available, there will be a small footstool or a stepper kind of thing where the patient can go up and down for aerobic capacity. If the patient is not able to walk, at least they can do steps. You know, if steps in each direction, like forward, backwards, sideways, the kicking activities that we said. There are bed mobility exercises that we can achieve. So there are different kind of exercises that we can plan for these patients, and they can be achieved very easily.
Thank you, Asmita. That was about it. We got a lot of information from you, and I think all our patients will definitely benefit with all the
My
tips and
pleasure.
tricks that you have told regarding how to keep your physical activity going on, how to keep your mental health also in check. So thank you so much, and thank you.
Thank you, Nupur. So I think we should tell them that we'll definitely try and come out with more topics like this, and let's see, we'll plan something, and if everyone is on board, we will keep doing this again.
Absolutely, absolutely. So everyone, please stay home, stay safe, and we will see you soon.
Yeah. Everyone, please stay home and stay safe and keep going. Keep your physical activity up, and also don't forget your mental health. That's also very important.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.